Hey, this is Parchelle here with the Author's Leverage. I'm so excited. Today I'm actually today's a recording day, so I get to talk to a lot of different people, but it's so enlightening and I'm just on fire. And today talking to Sara Chambers, who's gonna talk to us about personal branding. So if you're an author or you aspire to be an author, we're going to talk about what it means to have a strong brand that represents like what you're trying to convey, right? There needs to be alignment there. And so I have the perfect person here to talk about that with. So let me introduce you to her and then we're going to jump into the conversation. And if you are tuning in for the first time, this is an open platform. If you're writing a book, you've already written a book, this conversation on the Author's Leverage is about what we do now, right? What else is possible for you now that you've written and published your life's work essentially. There's more to it, and that's what we get to dive in conversation with amazing people. They're authors, they're publishers, they're experts in the space of like publicity and knowing how to connect you to your reader in a lot of ways. So today I'm joined by Sara Chambers. Let me pull up her bio so I can introduce her. Sara Chambers is the CEO and creative director of Elly and Nora Creative. I hope I said that right. I should have got that. Okay, good. Which is a boutique branding and digital content agency serving social enterprises, mission driven entrepreneurs, and nonprofits. She loves collaborating, community, and coffee. Alliteration is clearly her favorite literary device, and she's a fierce advocate for the Oxford comma. Before she founded her boutique, she spent the larger part of her career helping nonprofits, authors, and lifestyle brands in marketing, public relations, communication, and everything in between. She loves good food, me too, deep conversation, absolutely, and the thrill of a perfect thrift store find, which is interesting too. She's an Enneagram 8, I'm a 3, and knows that heaven is filled with the best books. She's passionate about helping her clients to achieve the results that grow their income and ultimately their impact. So excited to introduce you to Sara Chambers. Welcome, Sara.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
Yes, this is awesome. And I know in we've had conversations up to this point as well. We're both creatives. We both are really helping, and that's what I love about you, right? It's all about really what is the impact that we're making, and with our contribution and what we're doing, and also making some income with that too. That's important. And for authors, it's really tough, now that you've published a work, what to do with it. But let's start off. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into this world of all things creative, related to marketing and PR.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I feel like I'm one of the very few people that actually ended up working in the same industry or space that they went to school for. So I went to journalism school and I had an emphasis in public relations. And of course, once you enter the job market right after school, for me, that was right around the 2008 recession. And I ended up really kind of getting thrown into an interesting time in the economy. And that meant that there weren't a lot of entry level jobs, and those were kind of being absorbed. And there wasn't a lot of segmentation between PR, which is what I thought I was going to do, and marketing. And so I
Mm,
really had the opportunity to learn a lot on the job and get my hands dirty with a lot of different types of marketing and everything from social media and to email to media creation and content creation. And so I've really just been working in that space for the entirety of my career. And about 4 years ago, I decided to launch my own agency where I could focus on serving our clients in the way that I really wanted to and the way that I thought that they needed to be represented with all kinds of different creative across the board. And so primarily we focus on branding and digital content creation, authority building through content, as well as public relations.
yeah, and I love how specific you are in terms of who you're working with. So can you talk a little bit too to who are the best fits that align with your contribution? Because when you set out to have your own agency, you're wanting to make some kind of a dent, right? You're trying to do something. So, who are the folks that come in your path that are perfect folks for you?
Yeah, we like to say we love to work with purpose driven businesses. And the reason for that is our approach to branding and communication really comes from a place of service. And so, not at all that we're out to vilify making an income, because, again, like I really do believe that you can and should be doing both. However, we love working with people that making a boatload of cash and steamrolling everyone in the process is not really what they're up for. We really approach our process from a place of service, and what is it that you're out to do with your message, and what kind of impact are you out to make. And so if that is the type of business that you seek to create, or the type of platform that you want to build, then that's generally a pretty good alignment for us. So a lot of times we end up working with, again, that purpose driven entrepreneur. There's the solopreneur. They could be authors or speakers or coaches, and they are doing that job because they saw a void, and they saw how their passion and their expertise really overlapped to create a really big solution that made a huge impact. We also work a lot of times with social entrepreneurs, or excuse me, social enterprises. And a lot of businesses
Mhm.
don't necessarily know how to categorize, or if they fall into that category. And really, the most layman's terms way to explain it is, if you're doing something bigger with your business and your organization than just income and just making money. If the measure of success for your business it extends beyond profitability, then it's likely that you might fall into that social enterprise kind of space. And then, of course, nonprofits who have a really specific role in our greater society for doing really good and solving a really specific problem. So we love working with those categories of businesses the most.
I love that. I love that. They're purpose driven. They have or they're a social enterprise, which when you said that, I'm like, man, that I hadn't even thought about that, because I think for us, for sure, like, yes, we want to be profitable as a company, but it's about who's learning from what we create, like what impact is being made from that information being spread further. So I hadn't thought about that. That's pretty, like, that's okay. Social enterprise,
Yeah, you
interesting.
should definitely be categorizing yourself as a social enterprise then. And again, like there's a lot of ways to define it.
Yeah, yeah.
Sometimes it's businesses that have like maybe a one for one model, where like every time you purchase something they give something in
Mhm,
return.
mhm.
Or sometimes it's just a certain percentage of their income goes to a specific cause.
Right,
um,
right.
but it can also look like, how are you showing up for your staff and your employees, and
Mm,
what kind of bigger impact. Again, I think it really just comes down to, at least in my opinion, how are you measuring success for your business?
yeah.
And if one of the only ways that you are measuring success is profitability, then that might not be true for you. But if you are really looking and saying, hey, what did we do this last year outside of just making an impact? How did we make, or excuse me, an income? How did we actually make an impact in the areas that are important to us? Then
Mhm.
you would fall into that category for sure, in my opinion.
Interesting, interesting. Okay. And that's so I can see definitely the overlap, because we've had conversations, like I said, to where a lot of our clients who are authors, the people that are in our community, they have a book, and they set out with the intention to say, yes, I want this to help others. I want this message to go out and to really make a difference, and to establish another revenue stream from it. I mean, that's part of that goal as well. But oftentimes they don't see the full potential of that. You know what I mean? And in a lot of cases, it makes me think about branding. It makes me think about, right, what is happening outside of just having this book. So for you, like, where do you see the value of personal branding, specifically for those who are authors? Because there's so much value that goes into the content itself, which is good, but then it's like, from that, what are we conveying, across the board? So can you share a little bit about your thoughts, and how you see personal branding being so important, right, in bridging that gap.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I feel like I could talk about it all day. So a lot of times people think about branding, and of course they go straight to the visual identity piece of of branding, which is your logos and your colors. And of course, all of that matters, and that's definitely a part of the process, but it isn't the only part. And I would argue that it isn't the most important part. And when we start to think about personal branding, it isn't just something that's a nice to have anymore. It's actually a crucial part of your communication strategy. And this is true for solopreneurs and authors and coaches and people who exist kind of in their own entity, and their likeness is their brand. And that it also is true for corporate companies who have multiple people, staff, and stakeholders, and who is the CEO and who are the executives at the top of that business. And the reason that it's important, in my opinion, is that people don't connect with logos. You don't look at a piece of visual art. It might get your attention. It might
Mhm.
like slow the scroll or get you to stop and pay attention for a second. But we are inundated with messages every single day, every moment that we spend both digitally and offline. And the ones that get us to stop and to pay attention are the ones that we connect to, the ones that
Mhm.
we relate to. And personal branding has never been more important because people need to connect. People need to stay engaged, and they need to actually care. And I'm not going to care about a corporate company in the same way that I'm going to care about a person. And I actually like to say that when we work with, so context is that we work with both companies and personal brands to build
Mhm.
those. And
Mhm.
when we will work with companies, we're doing a lot of work to humanize the brand, right? We're working to say, if this company had a personality, what would that be? Or if this company were able to speak, what would they sound like, and what would they look like, and what would their style be? And I think that solopreneurs and authors, coaches are at a huge advantage because you're already coming to the table a fully formed human. You already have all of those things in place. You already have a wonderful personality, and you already have a vibe and a style. And so you're already at an advantage over some of the companies who are trying to humanize their brand, because you are already a human and you already innately have
Mhm.
all of those things that matter so much. And so really then the work just becomes, how do you, one, find the courage to turn your face towards the light and to be seen? And that's one of the biggest challenges for building a personal brand sometimes that I think we don't expect, is finding the courage and the bravery to step into that light and say, this is who I am, exactly as I am, and find that fine line between communicating who you are and also having that make a difference for your business. And that's really where we're able to help kind of bridge the clarity and the strategy piece together, and make sure that you are communicating both authentically and strategically at the same time, because it's possible to do both.
Yeah, it's huge, and we just completed a branding process as well, and you're so right. Like you have to be in a certain space that's ready for some light to be shined on, like who you are, what you stand for. Like it's nothing that you just keep within yourself anymore. Like it has to be an extension of how you show up, what you look like, what you say, what colors you're using, all of that. And so that process for us, which we started several months ago, I mean, it was totally eye opening. It really, really was. So in that process with you, like what are especially let's say from an author's perspective, right? What are you usually seeing as some of the mistakes that they're overlooking when it comes to just making that connection right between them and their readers, especially when we think beyond their book and how they're showing up online.
Yeah, I mean there are several, of course, but I would say some of the biggest ones would be being all business, if that makes sense. So when you start to think about your personal brand, it's important that you walk the fine line between showing up as a fully formed three-dimensional human being and still being on message. And so I think that people tend to sway either too hard one way or the other. And
Hmm.
a lot of times I think, especially like authors, solopreneurs, are really scared to venture outside or color outside the lines for sharing who they are as a human versus always talking about their book or always talking about the thing that they're selling or always showing up with that one kind of bucket, as we would call it. And we really work with our clients to develop kind of a sweet spot. And ours is four. I could be convinced that there are more, but for the most of the time, it's about four because you want to show up. Again, as a three-dimensional human, but you also don't want to muddy the message. So, four buckets, as we call them, or kind of categories of content or what you might talk about, is a really sweet spot for being able to show people that they have something to connect to, that they have something to relate to without confusing people. Because if one day you're showing up talking about your book, and then the next day you're talking about your vacation or your lunch, and then your dog, and then your spouse, and all of these different parts of your life that are actually true to you. What we do is we just clarify which pieces stay online and which pieces stay kind of sacred and close to you because we want to clarify the message and make sure that what it is that you're trying to say and what you're trying to do in the world has room and space to be seen and heard, and that there's enough consistency there that people will begin to know you for the thing that you want to be known for.
That's it. That's so significant. And you're right, social media can be such a for myself, I'm learning that. I mean, it's you really have to have a little bit more structure so that way, again, you are showing up as yourself, but you're just doing it more intentionally and just making sure that you're aware of what you're putting out, essentially. And it's what you want in a sense. It's very interesting. So how do you, can you talk a little bit more about the four categories? Like what for example could be those categories for an author who's writing on leadership, let's say, and they're working with executive women, and they've been coaching and speaking for, let's say, 12 years, right? They've like, how could they, sort of categorize and bring light to their book, to but still being a human in that respect. I know that that's kind of like just a vague. I try to go give some detail, but anyway, like, like how would you advise, anyone, or from a general standpoint, kind of look at those categories and to stay consistent within them?
Yeah, totally. So from a general standpoint, we like to start with the bucket that's what do you do? And that bucket, of course, is probably the easiest and might actually be like the biggest. Not all these buckets have to be the same size, by the
Yeah.
way.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
so that's where you would show up with really value driven content. That's where you would really serve your audience. That's where you would show your authority and really make sure that people understand that you're the expert in the area that you're trying to establish your expertise or trying to clarify or become known kind of in that area. So that's what we call like the what do you do bucket.
Mm-hmm.
Again, like that's from a place of service and value and building authority. Another bucket that we recommend people use all the time is the what do you care about bucket.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And this is a place where it's really vital for you to know that values, the vision, mission, values that we work with our clients to clarify and establish, because you have to care about something because we live in a complicated world and we actually encourage our clients to be a little polarizing, and that can be really scary because you don't want to put people off. But your brand, whether it be a corporate brand or personal brand, should actually invite people in or repel them. So it should attract them or push them away. Attract or repel is what we say. So really that brand should bring you time or money, and if it's a good fit for you, if that person aligns with your value system, if they are a like-minded person and they connect with what it is that you're saying, then they're a good fit to work with you or to purchase your book or whatever offering that you particularly have. And if they're not, then they bring you time because they're not even going to fill out the form on your website. They're not going to book a call with you. They're not even going to take up any more space in your ecosphere. And so those clients bring you time. And so we definitely want people to have the courage to speak about the things that they care about. And it doesn't have to be, again, it doesn't have to be political if you don't want it to be, but we definitely encourage people to take a stand for the things that they care about the most. And then another one would be like, what have you done? And so that's a great bucket for showing impact, for being able to share maybe like client testimonials, or this is a great place for storytelling. We encourage our clients all the time to think about how to infuse story into their online presence or building more authorities, because again, people create authority and connection via story. We all connect to story. So again, a great time and place for you to share stories around the impact that you've made, maybe for your previous clients. Or we love a good transformation story. I mean,
Mhm.
we like to call it like a Joanna Gaines moment, because we all kind of love when the house is a wreck and it's falling apart and there's mold and beams are falling down, and then we love being able to see kind of that end transformation moment. People love a good before and after.
Mhm.
So tell the story and take people on the journey for what this client or person that you worked with, or a reader of your book, maybe how they were before, and then you entered the equation, and then now what do things look like? And then the last bucket is a little bit more of a wild card, but
Mhm.
I like to call it like style or lifestyle. Like, what are the things that you're into? What are your hobbies? What are your passions? What are, you know, what's the thing that you want people to know about you? You know, is it like, for me, I'm a reader, and so and I think that words matter as a part of what I do professionally, and that integrates well with being a reader. And so I love sharing books. I think this probably speaks well to your audience. Like, I love talking about the latest book that I read or sharing about it. And that has absolutely no benefit to my business,
Mhm.
but it gives people an entry point. It gives people an opportunity to connect, um, and from a place that doesn't have an ask, right? Like, I can engage with someone on something that I read without there being any pressure, or without seeming like everything that I put out is just an invitation for them to do business with me. Like, I actually care about people beyond the ecosphere, the scope of my business. And that
Mhm.
gives me an opportunity to be a real human in the world. And that's really important too.
I love that. I love that. And do these buckets tend, does that also translate to more of the business branding as well? Is it the same in terms of those four categories? Because I have what you do, what you care about, what have you done, and what are you into in terms of your lifestyle. So is that for businesses too?
Yeah, I mean, for businesses, it's similar. Of course, like, we're being super general, so of course they can
Yes.
adapt based on the person or the business. But I would say maybe the last one for businesses is just a little bit different. For that one in lifestyle, we want businesses to show kind of behind the scenes.
Okay.
People
Okay.
love to see, what is it that your staff is doing? Like, introduce me to the people who are doing the work. And again, like, creating that opportunity for connection outside of just purchasing the service or the product, but show me what the process looks like, behind the scenes, and show me who are the people who are responsible for doing this work. And so if you're hypothetical, say like a product based business, and I want to see like who's packing my order, and like what kind of like love and extra attention are they like putting into packing my order,
Mm.
or who does what inside of a service-based business, and who's touching, because there's so much that happens behind the scenes in a business that most people don't get access to. And I think that a lot of times as business owners, either corporate or personal, we tell ourselves the lie that nobody cares or that's not
Right.
interesting.
Right.
We really take for granted, that I do this every day, so that must not be that interesting to people. But people have different lived experiences, and
Right.
if you don't see your life every day, that could be a really great opportunity for connection and conversation. And just don't take for granted that people don't think what you're doing is interesting. So show them peeks behind the scenes and maybe a day in the life of, or um, we worked with a fashion brand at one point, and we were really intentional on showing the design process from start to finish and who are the people who are manufacturing your products, because I want to see those people behind the scenes, and I want to know that when I get that product in the mail, that oh, I remember when I saw this woman who was sewing this item. Like that's really powerful for connection. So any opportunity that you can have to show people who you are is going to be really relevant in that last bucket.
That's incredible. I'm definitely going to remember these. I hope everyone took some notes. Right, I feel more content coming from that, especially just it's just it's easy, it's simple, and it's doable. Right, for if you're an author or an entrepreneur and you're just like, my branding, like, what do I do? How am I supposed to get clear? Well, you just got some value right there in terms of just how you can categorize and be more intentional about the content you are putting out. But I know, Sarah, you mentioned that there's a brand challenge coming up. So I think that like that's like a huge way to get not just what you just got there, but way more because you're going to actually work with her. So, Sarah, talk a little bit about your brand challenges coming up.
Yeah, I'm really excited. My team and I have been working on a brand challenge. You know, summer is really fun for like summer festivals like Lollapalooza and Coachella. And
Mm-hmm.
while those are fantastic, they are not going to help you grow your business. And so we decided to create our own called Brand Fest. And
Ooh.
it is a 5-day brand challenge where each day I am showing up with a training on a different aspect of your brand. And I'd love to invite anyone to come and join us at Brand Fest. The Brand Fest itself actually kicks off on Monday, July 25th. So you have right up until then to secure your tickets for Brand Fest. And you can definitely learn more about that at ellyandnoracreative.com/brandfest. And I'm sure that you'll find a way to help people find that link if
Yes.
they need. Or please feel free to reach out to me in DMs. I'm pretty active across most platforms, and I'd be happy to direct you that way if you have any questions.
Absolutely. We'll make sure that the links that we have are in part of this post, wherever you're hearing or seeing or listening to this. So this is so incredible, Sarah. So as we start to wrap up, because I could continue to talk to you, what would you leave in terms of parting words of advice? And as well, one question I ask everyone is, what is your one word? So if you had one word to share to the world as a message that came from you, what would that one word be?
Mm, wow, I'm such a words person, so that one's
I
gonna be
know
tough.
that's the
So I guess my parting message would be I am again like a reader, like I said, and one of my favorite uh, literary heroes, if you will, is Oscar Wilde. And he has a quote that I think is just absolutely perfect and brilliant for branding. And so I use it all the time. And it says, "Be yourself, everyone else is taken." And I just think that that really sums it up well, that you are the only you that there is. And I can say something and it can connect with a certain segment of people. And then you can turn around and say the exact same thing, the exact same message, and maybe even the exact same medium. And it's going to hit different people in different ways because we as humans connect with people in different ways. And so don't ever sell yourself short because you are able to drive impact in ways that other people, even if they have the exact same message, can't possibly drive impact. And so just a good reminder that that should give you a big fat permission slip to show up exactly as you are.
I love that.
I guess my one word would be authenticity, um,
Okay.
as it kind of piggybacks off of what I just said. But showing up authentic and finding the courage to be yourself is something that will serve other people in the long run as well.
That's beautiful. I love that quote. I'm going to put that somewhere on my wall too. It's like, do you have that on your wall?
Oh, I have that one in so many things that we use for sure in our pitch decks and in our
Yes.
materials. Yeah, we use it all the time.
That's so awesome. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for being here today. This was incredible. We're definitely going to link to the show notes so that way anyone who's tuning in definitely connect with Sarah. Join her brand challenge if you know that what we said today resonated and you're like, you know what, I want to take it a step further. She's the person to take you there. So thanks again, Sarah. This is awesome. And I'm going to close up by just saying we're just excited right now. There's so many exciting things happening with the Authors Leverage, and one of those is that we just finished a quiz. So it's a quiz called the Book to Course Scorecard Quiz, and it's going to help you answer the question if your book, if your idea makes sense, and if it's going to be successful as an online course. So we've approached that question from a lot of different angles and developed a quiz. It's going to help you just see where you're at, and we'll help you take the next steps. It again for what's happening to take the messages, the things that we want to share with the world, and spread it further. That's what the Authors Leverage is all about. So thanks again to Sarah for being here. Please connect with her. And until next time, we'll see you.